In the past decade, especially in America, people have been taking a serious new look at the old question of death and life after death. What is death? Have we had other lives? Is there life after death? Book after book confronts these questions with new scientific data and speculation. For answers to these perplexing questions, many are turning to Eastern philosophies. In the following slides, we shall investigate death and afterlife as explained in the oldest philosophical system known to man, India's ancient Vedic culture. Due to the influence of foreigners, Vedic culture has gradually diminished in India. Yet, in 1977, these pilgrims and more than 8 million others came to Allahabad, India, to observe the ancient Vedic festival called Kumbh Mela. For several days, the pilgrims tolerated austere conditions, spending chilly nights with only the shelter of crude tents. These pilgrims sat on the ground to eat food cooked in hastily erected kitchens. Why were so many taking such trouble to attend the festival? For one simple reason: to prepare for the next life. Believing that pious activities will be rewarded in the next life, they flocked to bathe in the holy waters of the Ganga and Yamuna at a certain auspicious moment.
Purnendu sundara mughati aravinda netrati Krishnat param kimapi tatvamagam najane bhajare.
Pious activities, self-realization, and the nature of life after death are all explained in India's ancient Vedic literatures. These men read the Vedas, written thousands of years ago in Sanskrit, but still known and influential to millions of people today. In the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of India's Vedic wisdom, the Supreme Lord Krishna, shown here on the right, instructs his disciple Arjuna about death and rebirth. What follows is a summary of Lord Krishna's teachings. This diorama shows a person changing bodies from boyhood to youth to old age. Krishna explains that each of us is a deathless living soul, inhabiting a changing material body which undergoes birth, disease, old age, and death. Death simply means that the soul moves from one body to the next. What kind of body one gets depends on karma, which is the result of good or bad deeds performed in past lives. As an example of bad karma, a gluttonous person may take his next birth as a hog. Taking an animal's birth is nature's punishment because there is no opportunity to advance in spiritual life. The soul evolves step by step through 8 million species of life before it reaches the human form. Human life is valuable because one can use it to engage in pious activities for improving one's future situation. Pious activities, such as giving food and charity, create good karma and give one facility for material enjoyment in the next life. Lord Krishna says that through pious deeds, the soul goes to higher heavenly planets to enjoy celestial pleasures for thousands of years. As shown here, one can enjoy nicely on the heavenly planets, but ultimately there is death, and the soul returns to this world. Some persons practice jnana yoga, the process of philosophical speculation. Their ultimate goal is to merge into the void, impersonal, cosmic consciousness. Although there is no death there, staying in the void is very difficult, due to the soul's desire to be active. Bhakti yogis, devotees of Lord Krishna, seek knowledge, renunciation, and freedom from death by chanting Krishna's names and serving him in devotion. Devotees worship in temples, such as this one at Rangakshetra, in order to transfer from this planet to the transcendental spiritual planets of Krishna, where the soul is eternally freed from the misery of birth and death. As described in the Vedas, the spiritual world is both deathless and full of eternal spiritual activity. When one goes there, he never returns to this world of birth and death. Devotees prepare for living in the spiritual world by worshipping the deity of Krishna, shown here. One who can fix his mind on Krishna at the time of death goes directly to the spiritual world. Viewing from left to right, this illustration shows how the soul takes its next body. At the upper left, a devotee worships Krishna and goes to Krishna's planet. Below, a pious man goes to a heavenly material planet. At the bottom, we see how performers of animalistic activities are put into the hellish condition of animal life. In the Vedic text Srimad Bhagavatam, Emperor Parikshit, shown kneeling, has learned that he will die in 7 days. He asks his guru, Shukadeva Goswami, what is the duty of a man on the verge of death? Shukadeva Goswami said, at the last stage of life, one should not be afraid of death. Leaving home for a sacred place, one must cut off all attachment to the material world. Forgetting all bodily needs and comforts, one should meditate intensely on the form of Krishna within his heart. Thus he can be sure to remember Krishna and gain liberation at the moment of death. All religious Indians still hold to this ancient philosophy about death and the afterlife. At every stage of life, they prepare for death by thinking of Krishna and practicing detachment from family, wealth, and bodily comfort. Children learn detachment from material things and attachment to Krishna from the beginning of life. At age 25, a man may take a wife. Here, married devotees worship Krishna in their home. The Vedas advise detachment to home and family, lest one think of them at the time of death, and thus fail to remember Krishna. At age 50, a man customarily leaves his wife and family in care of his eldest son and accepts sannyasa, the renounced order of life. There are no old age homes. One simply practices spiritual activities until death. Traveling to a holy place, a sannyasi accepts only the bare necessities for maintaining his body. He teaches younger seekers about the need to renounce this material world. A woman whose husband takes sannyas or dies will go to a holy place to live in an ashram, a home for intensified spiritual practice. These women lead simple lives of piety, visiting temples and chanting sacred hymns. Being so much convinced of an afterlife, how do persons in Vedic society treat death itself? The following scenes from an Indian cremation ceremony give information of the Vedic point of view. These men understand that their friend or relative has not really died. Rather, he has simply been transferred to a new body. Although family and friends feel a natural bereavement, their main concern is with the departed soul's promotion in his next life. They cover the body with flower garlands and a new cloth that is decorated with names of God. Priests make final preparations on the funeral pyre. According to Vedic tradition, corpses should be burned. Only the bodies of exalted saints are sometimes buried. A final washing of the corpse serves to cleanse the departed soul of reactions to past sins. The priest covers the corpse with fragrant sandalwood sticks and incense. An intimate relative, such as the departed man's eldest brother, prepares the corpse for burning. Burning the body reminds each onlooker that his own body will sooner or later be annihilated. Fire, the Vedic symbol of purity, assists in the transfer of the soul to a higher position in its next incarnation. The remaining ashes may be gathered and buried in a clay urn. In India, there are very few graveyards. Usually, the ashes are scattered in holy rivers, such as the Ganga or Yamuna, to further benefit the departed soul. What we have seen is a funeral ceremony for a common man. However, the remains of a spiritually exalted person may be buried intact beneath a shrine or samadhi tomb like this one. Here is the famous samadhi tomb of Srila Rupa Goswami in Vrindavan, Uttar Pradesh. It is seen every year by thousands of pilgrims. In Vedic culture, there is no need of lamentation when a pious man dies, because he will proceed to a better life. And the departure of a great devotee of Krishna is actually a cause of celebration, because it is understood that he has gone back to the eternal spiritual world.
Krishna